Afternoon, everyone. My name's Pat Baby, Armstrong County Commissioner and Chairman of SBC. Welcome to Southwestern Pennsylvania's Full Commission meeting. I'll let the record reflect. Today is Monday, August 25th, 2025. You have a quorum.
Yes.
We do have a quorum. Thank you. At this time, any conflicts of interest declaration, if so, on any of the action items, please announce those. Not hearing any, we're going to move along in your pre-packets. Agenda item number 2, looking for a motion and a second for discussion on the June 23rd, 2025 minutes. Tony, Peter, go second.
Second.
Bitch, we say, any questions, comments, or revisions? Not hearing any. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Public comment come before the commission. We have none. Thank you very much. At this time, I'm going to kick it over to our executive director, Rich Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chairman Fabian. Just a couple of brief items talking about, you can see from the slide on the left-hand side, obviously a month or so ago, we had a huge energy and AI summit. Carnegie Mellon University, Senator McCormick brought not just the president, but many members of the cabinet, many top-level CEOs in that space. We talked about that a little bit earlier. I won't get into some of those discussions, but hopefully, really, what's coming out of that and coming out of some of those discussions are obviously some of these huge data centers that so many of you are looking to see in your county. We know about Homer City, obviously, and the announcement that came in Beaver County about shipping port up in Butler County with Westinghouse making a major expansion around nuclear. Westmoreland and Washington had announced some a little bit earlier, and then other counties that are probably going to be making some announcement pretty soon, which we could certainly be exciting about. The one thing that really came out of that from a standpoint that a lot of us is having the workforce training for all the workers that are going to be needed, especially if they're all done right around the same time. So our buildings grades are really going to have to ramp up their training and provide, some of that, some of those bodies and pipeline of talented people to be able to do that. We also had a visit. You see the picture there from our USDA State Director, Mike Cabell, and Jen Lass will probably talk about that a little bit during her report. There's going to be other discussions along those. And when he came in with a number of the commissioners, already talked about housing, which is certainly an issue that we all are dealing with, broadband and some other issues that I know DJ Ryan's got some updates on some developments that have happened along the broadband site. Obviously, we have the Washington, D.C. Visit we're going to be taking in September 16th and 17th with the county spotlight. Again, some of that we talked about earlier, but we want to make sure that when we go there, we have our message sharply defined, whether it be within your own county or some of the things that we're going to be talking about regionally. So working with DJ, you'll be communicating with him so that we have the best chance of success moving forward. We had a couple certification meetings on the couple every few years that we have to go through with the Department of Transportation and the Federal Highway Administration. The one with the Federal Transportation Administration is done. Final report was issued and everything was good. We are certified again. I think it's 3 years, so Lily can talk about that just briefly. And then the FHWA one that some of you were able to be with us, and we really appreciate joining us for that meeting. That was very helpful. Apparently, we'll get to our report in just a short order, but apparently everything went well along those lines. You'll be hearing again some of that from Lily Gabreski as we move forward. Jen will be talking about some of the economic development and workforce development things we have, and of course DJ on the special projects, and like I said, with the some broadband announcements that just came out in the last couple of days. That's my report. If anybody has any questions.
Any questions for Rich? Thank you, Rich. Just a couple comments. just a reminder when we go to DC that if you can, if you're not an executive committee, or if you're on the executive committee, you can make it to DC. We hope you do. If you can, then you can find a replacement to represent your county. We greatly appreciate that because your county will have a spotlight on the agenda to talk about your county projects. And we heard loud and clear in the Northwest County Commissioners Association. We heard in District 2. We've heard from CCAP members about Senator Corbis Energy and Innovation Summit. We were going to have an opportunity to talk to him when we go to the fly-in. And our message is, we want enhanced collaboration. I know a lot of counties and planning directors were left out, so we're going to try to build that bridge. So when that comes around again, that county planning directors in the Southwest and commissioners aren't left out. At that, I'm just going to leave it there. I'm going to kick it over to EJ to introduce some of our presenters here and our guests. EJ?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hi, everybody. So I want to just preface this presentation by saying that we talked a lot about the Army Corps of Engineers here, mostly in the context of blocking lots of dams. There's a whole lot of other things that the Army Corps of Engineers does that we're going to hear about in a minute to say. A lot of you have reached out to us about the cleanup that they're doing in Armstrong County. Sarah Walford from my team has been going to all the meetings and regular communication about this. And then so a long time now, then Commissioner Fabian asked us to go to a public meeting that they've had. We were present at that stuff, and we wanted to bring Colonel Moline and the team from the Army Corps, not just the Pittsburgh district. We have folks from Buffalo here too. So we wanted to bring their team in to give you a little more detail on the project, how it's going to impact your counties and how it's not going to impact your counties, we hope. So I'll turn it over to you.
Oh, yeah. Hey, thank you, Mr. Ryan. Really appreciate the opportunity. Linda Fitzgerald, was wonderful talking to you. It was maybe 4 months ago. And you had the idea maybe this would be a valuable session. And, of course, Commissioner Fabian, we've had a chance to meet and discuss the shallow land disposal area, be it from Armstrong County. You're well aware of it. I want to give a couple opening comments, but first I want to introduce the team of experts we brought here. So the way that this project is being managed by the Corps of Engineers is to do the actual management of the waste disposal. We've got the Corps of Engineers foremost experts in handling these type of remediation activities. That's the Buffalo district of the United States Army Corps of Engineers. I made a joke to Steve before this meeting. You can just pop a street over and pick up a terrible towel. There's nothing wrong with that. Ends up in. But we've also got a really talented team. We've got Craig DeBase. He's our project manager here in the Pittsburgh district. Dawn Orlick, our outreach coordinator. She can follow up with you if you have further questions or want further briefings. We've got Neil Miller, the head of the environmental branch at the Buffalo district. He's the brain trust that really knows how to get into the details of keeping these types of remediations absolutely safe. And we've got a great health physicist here, Mark Graham, who knows all about what's in the trenches out at the shallow land disposal area. I can answer any question you might have. So why are we here talking to you today? As many of you might know, back in the 1960s, the Winnet Corporation disposed of quantity of materials, some of which have a radiological signature in 10 trenches just right outside of Vandergrift, Pennsylvania. They were operating within the standards at the time, but standards have very, very much changed since then. And those materials have been ascertained as needing to move. John P. Murtha, when he was a great congressman here in Western Pennsylvania, advocated for it's called the shallow land disposal area to be included under the fully federally funded nationwide program to clean up legacy disposal areas. Really were tied to the Manhattan program. So our Thomas So by doing that, Congressman Murtha got the federal government on the case to help with this challenge. And a lot of you are probably familiar with it. When the Corps of Engineers got it, sort of right after the turn of the millennium, sort of went up to in 2011, starting remediation. We started to pull materials out of the trenches. We stopped because we needed to ensure that we had the right set in place, and we're restarting 90 days, give or take, from today in November, right around Thanksgiving time or a little bit before that, with the active remediation. So the removal of these materials from Western Pennsylvania entirely to go all the way out to Utah to a secure facility where they will be stored in perpetuity with a lot of other stuff. So this program is a $600 million investment by the federal government to get it right and to take this facility, this area right there in that highlight, and take it from being a place that is blocked off, that has materials in it which are safe and contained right now, but ultimately need to be removed, and return it to a condition where there is no radiological threat remaining or issue. And so that's a big commitment. One of the reasons that we wanted to talk to this great forum today is you represent Southwest Pennsylvania. So, Commissioner Fabian, very knowledgeable about the Shaolin disposal area. But we want to make sure that all of our great commissioners and representatives from Western Pennsylvania are aware of this remediation effort and the safe way that we're executing it. You might ask, why does it cost $600 million to clean all this up? Steve will talk a little bit about that. If I had to sum it up in one word, it's safety. We're erecting facilities and putting protections in place so that the materials that are there can be safely removed. And so what Steve's going to do is he's going to give you a little bit of an overview right up front, and please feel comfortable. If you've got a question, you certainly won't be hurting our feelings. The public meetings that we have out in Vandergrift are very positive. They're also, very engaged. We've got engaged folks who are used to taking questions throughout. So he's going to talk to you about the overall project, and then we're going to talk to you about the routes that the waste is going to travel over as it goes from Vandergrift area to Wampum, Pennsylvania, where it'll get on a train and it'll transit out of Pennsylvania and across the United States. So I'll pause there, played my role as hype man, and pass it over to Steve to give you a quick overview.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. So I'll just add a couple notes that Colonel Lee didn't cover in the background here. But so again, there's the site. It's 44 acres in size. It's about 23 miles northeast of where we are right here, located in Parks Township. The site is private property. It's owned by BWX Technologies, or BWXT for short. So we have signed a site access agreement with them, which gives us access to the property and enables us to do our cleanup project. Once we're done, the property reverts back to the property owner. So it's not federal property. We do not own the land. Again, as Colonel Lane said, our objective is to safely excavate, process, transport, and dispose of these wastes, approximately 30,000 cubic yards buried in those 10 trenches. Priorities: ensuring the safety of the workers, the community, and the environment. Site infrastructure and preparation activities are going on right now. This photo was from a few months ago, so there's even more buildings and structures if you go by there today. That work is expected to continue into the fall of this year, let's say around mid-September. And then waste excavation, transportation, and disposal is expected to begin shortly thereafter. We'll keep you informed of that exact date when we're going to start as we get a little closer. And then finally the remediation is expected to take approximately 6 years. But it will ultimately, the duration will ultimately be determined on how safely we can do it. We can remove and dispose of those materials.
Yeah, I think that's a key point. I just want to really foot stomp is it's 6 years at minimum. We're paced by safety. So removing this material and just really thin 6-inch lifts. We're double, triple packing it, putting it in impact proof containers. A lot of steps are being taken to go slow on this for a reason. We want to maintain safety throughout. So you see that 6-year period and you think, oh man, 10 trenches, 6 years, that's a long time. But we want to do it right. The federal government is committed to doing it right. So minimum of 6 years could end up being a little bit longer, could end up being maybe a little shorter if we achieve efficiencies, but you can see it's a longer term commitment. It'll be going on for ways.
So these photos down here in the lower left, so those were photos taken from the first phase of remediation, which began back in 2011. So as you can see, the waste that we're talking about, they resemble common trash, right? They consist of random mixtures of radiologically and chemically contaminated debris, including things like lab waste, old equipment, building materials, protective clothing, general maintenance materials, and we're told possibly a truck is buried in one of those trenches. So we'll see. Let's start your pool now. However, it is important to note that, the waste can be safely handled due to the low levels of radiological contamination. They do not pose an immediate hazard from physical exposure. Inhalation, that's probably our biggest hazard, which is why you see the person there wearing a respirator. But like you could literally hold the material in your hand. There is no immediate hazard from the radiological component because it is low level. The reason we're removing it is because of the long-term risk that it presents by being left there, in an unguarded, unsecured condition. So it's not an immediate risk; it's a long-term risk, which is why we're doing this cleanup. So again, waste materials will be surveyed before being placed into these heavy-duty plastic bags. They're called IP1 DOT shipping containers. If you come to our public meetings, we always have one there. You can come up and touch it and feel it. The very heavy plastic. The waste are put in there. They're sealed shut. Then those bags are then loaded into their steel. They're called intermodal containers, IMCs. They're shown here in the bottom right. It resembles basically like a 20-yard dumpster. If you've ever seen a truck with those big metal 20 cubic yard dumpsters, that's basically what they look like. These have a few more features, including a solid metal lid that gets closed and locked once those bags have been put into it. Once that IMC is sealed shut, it does not get open until it arrives at the disposal facility. I don't remember formally mentioned it. Most of this waste will be going to the Energy Solutions disposal facility in Clive, Utah. So quite a waste from here. The IMCs, they meet all DOT regulations for safely transporting this type of material. Before every waste container leaves the site, it's scanned and surveyed to make sure that there is no contamination left on the outside so that we won't be, carrying or spreading any contamination off-site. It's as we'll get into, those are then loaded onto trucks where they'll be transported from the site to the transload facility in Waupun, Pennsylvania. From there, they're loaded onto railroad cars and they'll take their trip to Utah.
So I just want to foot stomp. When this stuff is packaged on site, it's been fully scanned and characterized. So we'll know exactly what's in it. And the material itself, like Steve said, you could pick it up in your hand and it would have impact on you necessarily. It's packaged in those heavy duty containers, which are utilized for the transportation of this type of material routinely. And then it's both scanned and washed the entire truck before it leaves the site. So one thing like the folks in Vandergrift asked at a public meeting, it's like, let's say the truck is driving by and it's kicking up a lot of dust. Do I need to be worried? Absolutely not. Before it leaves the site, it has to be thoroughly sanitized. So that dust is just dust. And I just wanted to foot stomp that because, a lot of investment is going in to properly characterizing the material, safely packaging it, and preparing it to travel over road and on rail.
Thank you. All right. So as I said, so those IMCs get loaded onto semi trucks similar to the one shown there. As Colonel Lee mentioned, they're decontaminated, screened, and they are each and every one is also inspected by qualified Corps of Engineer personnel on site to ensure that it meets all the requirements before it leaves the site and goes down the road. So that's Mark is one of those folks who do that. He's done that at many of our other food wrap sites. And by the way, that's the program under which we're doing. It's the Formally Utilized Sites Remedial Action Program, or as we call it, FUSRAP. We love our acronyms in the Army. So, so each load is properly labeled and manifested to meet U.S. Department of Transportation and U.S. EPA requirements. Each truck and shipping container, as I said, is trained by a qualified USACE staff member before it leaves the site. Right now, we expect waste shipping will occur 2 days per week with up to 3 trucks, each delivering 2 loads per day. So if you run the math, that's 12 total waste shipments per week, 2 days per week. That's what we're anticipating right now. Again, that may change, but that's what we plan to start off with, just based on what we assume we can safely exhume per day and per week. The waste will be driven on designated routes, which we'll get into here in a moment, to that licensed transload facility in Waupun, Pennsylvania. That's approximately 60 miles northwest of where the SLBA site is. You'll get to see that again. In the unlikely event of an accident during transport, again, there's no immediate hazard expected from the waste exposure, and there are plans in place to address a situation such as that. All right, so real quick, I guess bottom line, before I even mention any of the specifics, so you can see where the site is here. From the SLBA site to Aileron Corporation in Waupun, Pennsylvania, it's going to pass through 6 different counties, starting in Armstrong, Westmoreland, Allegheny, come across the corner of Butler into Beaver, then finally into Lawrence County. So this is our primary route. I'll also show you an alternate route here in a minute, but most of the route is on Interstate 76. I mean, obviously, these trucks, they're just like any other large truck. They follow truck routes, state routes, and interstate highways. We purposely do that because that's what's best suited for those. So and there's the turn-by-turn directions you can see, but if we need to, we can get into the details. That's the primary route. This is a secondary route, which you can see it really just changes down here, basically how the trucks will access I-76, the turnpike. It's everything that I had. So we had 10 minutes. But I could stand here and talk about my project all night if you like.
Well, we've got the experts here. And what we just wanted to do was show you these routes. These will be moving, like I said, for the next 6 years. And we're starting in 90 days. So what we wanted to do is ensure that we had sort of robust understanding that this federal program is about to start. And we're certainly available to provide more information, more detailed briefings if any county has a deeper interest. We'll speak certainly time, but I'll pause there just for questions.
I have one question. It's just out of curiosity. How much is leaching down into the lower soils are you anticipating on this waste, or you feel that there's nothing leaching out of the radioactive waste? I'm just curious.
Sure. So the waste, they were just trenches dug into the ground.
Yeah.
However, it is a fairly high clay content. We have groundwater monitoring wells all around the site and within the site that we monitor that yearly. And once remediation starts, we'll actually start monitoring monthly. All of our data to date has not shown any contaminated, materials flowing off of the site. It's all contained to those trench areas. But, again, that goes back to the reason we're doing this. There's no guarantees that won't change over a very long period of time. So
I was just curious. I'm a person.
It's a good question.
My county does, well, one of my counties does, but the county I represent is involved in any of that.
We've been collecting that water quality monitoring data.
I was just curious how much was, I'm sure you did, doesn't ever make a place with the budget you got put out in front of you. I was just curious. Thank you.
I just want to say I've been involved with this project since 2016. I think the Army Corps has done an outstanding job with being transparent with the community as often as they're holding public meeting. Maybe they didn't have it right at the beginning, hit the pause button, went back to the drawing board, so to speak. They've kept our public safety team involved. They meet monthly. And I just drove past there the other day. It's a small city now compared to that project or to that. And I wanted the Corps to come here today because, you know, we all think about the catastrophe that happened in East Palestine and Ohio. This is going through 6 of our counties. And I just thought it was pertinent that you kind of understand the project as county commissioners and leaders and planning directors and your public safety people and what's coming through your neighborhoods. But, you know, I'm confident that you guys have done a great job with public relations in the community. And I just think you've done a fantastic job. So I appreciate everybody sitting over there. I've seen all of you at public meetings, and I appreciate your hard work on this. And it's really, you know, where it was maybe in 15, 16, we've come a long ways, but it's looking good. So thank you. I appreciate your work.
Thank you. It's a lot.
Questions? Yeah.
Where did the waste come from? I mean, you're saying it's back in the 1960s, but where is it? Hospital waste? Is it?
So in 1957, the Nuclear Materials and Equipment Corporation, or NUMEC, as it's known, basically started a nuclear fuel production facility in Apollo, Pennsylvania. It's like 10 miles down the road. So the waste came from basically when they decommissioned and closed that nuclear fuel production facility.
So that's the fuel that's used to power our nuclear submarines that are able to stay underwater for months at a time. Powers our nuclear aircraft carriers. It was produced here, disposed of locally according to the standard of the time. Of course, now we understand that standard is not sufficient for the long term. And really, like I said, you know, I think Congressman Murtha's advocacy really got it into a place where it was part of the federal program, which of course is fully federally funded. So taking this legacy item, it could have been something that, you know, the state or local counties would have to deal with. Heavy Carroll Arena to where that $600 million of funding is coming out of the federal budget, which for the scope of the work that needs to be done, it's appropriate. The small city, which is absolutely correct. It's big. It's necessary for the work, and it's the right steps to take for safety. And we'll make sure Dawn is tied in with the Southwest Pennsylvania Commission. So if anyone comes out of here and says, hey, I'd like to get a little more information about the transportation route going through my county, or I'd like to know a little bit more about how the trucks are tracked, or any of those other sorts of questions, or you want to link us up with any of your emergency management personnel or your folks who might work on this, we'll make sure we can do Teams briefings, we can meet in person, really at your convenience. We just wanted to make sure with this briefing that there was just robust awareness of this work, and that we're getting going. We're getting going on addressing it. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move along on our agenda item number 6, transportation reports. I'm going to hand it over to our director, Lily Resky.
Right. Thank you. So be great this month. We'll try to keep it short. As Rich said earlier, our federal transit triennial review, our final report was issued. All was good. So that is in order for the next 3 years. That is the program that funds our Community Info program, our BAMFA program, as well as some of our TDM staff here. So That one we went through and because I've gotten this question a lot, I'll answer it prematurely, which is that we don't normally have these both in the same year. It just happened a lot that way this year. So usually these are not right after the other, but we were just still lucky this year. So, okay. Yeah. So as part of that FTA triennial review, there were 2 corrective actions. Those were addressed before the final report was even issued. Yeah, immediately. So those are taken care of. Final report is issued. We're all good on that. Also, as Rich said, the DOT TMA certification review, which is part of our overall transportation funding here, that has concluded. The on-site portion of that, we're going to have a debrief with that team in September, and then it could be several months if we get that final report. But again, I think it went very well. Again, echo Rich's sentiment. Thank you all so much who participated, who attended the public meeting. The federal review team told us it was the highest attended public meeting they had seen, so which is a fantastic thing, and I'm very proud of that. So thank you, to all the staff that worked on that, everyone that sent people from their communities, counties to attend. We really, really appreciated it. As part of the FTA triennial review, I just wanted to flag that as part of this process, we have a number of annual votes that we have to maintain, including our Title VI report of our safety plan. So those will be up for a vote in October as a slate in order to get those all in order as part of being board. So moving on, I wanted to just briefly talk about the PennDOT NEVI program. So USDOT has officially relaunched EV charging funding. DOT interim guidance was issued earlier this month, and that unpauses the NEVI program. It had been paused since February while the administration was reviewing that. So as part of that process, states will submit a state EV infrastructure development plan within 30 days. If a state determines and federal highway certifies that the designated alternative fuel corridors are fully built out for electric vehicles, then NEVI funds may be used for EV charging infrastructure on any public road or publicly accessible location. So the PennDOT NEVI team has anticipated that our region will receive $13 to $16 million in funding for community charging stations and $24 to $29 million in total NEVI funding. This is a target amount that will be rolled out via a competitive program, which will be targeted directly at contractors. But that process will be informed by our priorities. So as part of the PennDOT NEVI plan, SPC was charged with providing a list of priority use cases and then a list of priority locations for this electric vehicle community charging funding. So we conducted the first part of that back in January before this funding was paused. We met with all of the county planning directors to do a planning exercise that prioritized use cases as a group for the region. So, for example, a use case could be a local park or a municipal building or a shopping center. So we have that list completed with buy-in from all of the county planning directors and their teams. We paused our NEVI involvement then until we knew that the funding would continue to flow to our region. We didn't think it was appropriate to go out and do, a sense of public involvement when we weren't sure what was happening with the funding. So now that we know the funding is intended to continue to flow to our region, PennDOT has requested that we officially resume our public engagement activities. So this is a cross-departmental effort between transportation, data models, communications. I think TJ is going to talk a little bit about that in his report. But the public surveys are going to be distributed to gauge public interest in charging locations, which will ultimately be prioritized by zip code. So we plan to submit separate lists for each county, and we will send the public input we receive to the county planning departments to review and to advise on changes before submitting to PennDOT central office. So we're hoping to get a website launch relatively soon that can serve as a public toolkit that will include mapping existing EV charging locations. It'll include those documents we received from PennDOT central office that outline the funding that we can expect to flow to all of our communities, as well as any additional assistance that we can provide to our communities and counties. So we anticipate completing this effort by November. That's the accelerated schedule that PennDOT has asked us to meet. So it's going to be very condensed. So please let us or your county planning departments know, that you'd like to be in the loop on this. We'll be providing everything to them. Again, TJ can talk about that in more length. But yeah, So that's a summary. Are there any questions on that before I keep going?
Just a couple questions. First, is there any real change in, I know where these go, because I know there were some regulations around distances, the interstates, that sort of thing that were changed. And the other piece is the CFI part of this also on the back, or is that just that all together?
So the CFI part, that's what I'm talking about. Is the community? Yeah. So as far as I know, and I'm not as much up to date on the stuff that's already happened, I believe is in terms of Pennsylvania, it's still going to remain pretty much the same as what they planned. It's just they need to receive approval to roll it out. It's similar to what's happening with broadband. Like it needs to be resubmitted, reviewed again with the state plan, but it doesn't sound like they're intending to change anything. And then this is the community charging piece of this. So all of the, that's what I was saying with the alternate fuel corridors. Once those are finished, then the money can be used anywhere else, basically. So the state is just looking for, part of how they said they would do it in their agreement with the federal government is by using MPOs to submit local priorities. So they're basically going through us to submit all of the local priorities. Yeah, it's so.
But the all two corridors is changing.
I don't-
The meta guidance would allow you to not be, there were limitations they put on distances were.
Yeah, I don't believe so. No, that's not what as far as I heard from the PennDOT team, it sounds like they're keeping those the same as they had already developed in the feed.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I will keep rolling, but feel free to reach out to any of us now. So the transit operators meetings, I just wanted to flag that we're starting to schedule those in member counties to showcase our regional transit providers. So the September meeting will be taking place at Beaver County Transit. There will still be a virtual option to participate in the call, but they're trying to actually go out to some of those transit agencies in an effort to get out and view those sites. The October meeting is scheduled to be held in Westmoreland, and then another meeting will be held in Washington in spring. So Devin is working with transit agencies to coordinate any of those entities that wish to host meetings at their site. And then as far as tip development is underway. Work group meetings are occurring in each PennDOT district with county planning directors and transit representation to facilitate the development of the next tip process. If you have any questions, please reach out to your county planning teams because they are at all of those meetings. They're very involved. They have everything that we've been working on. There are 5 more rounds of tip work group meetings occurring. We've had 2 rounds so far. So each round consists of a meeting in each district. So we have 21 total work group meetings held across our region. So that's keeping us very good keeps. Public meetings for those are being scheduled for fall. And last I checked, it looked like all of those meetings have been scheduled. I think we're still waiting on a few times and locations, but we have dates. So thank you so much for working quickly to nail those down. We really appreciate that so much. And we'll be in each county to conduct the public tip meetings as part of our mandated public involvement process. So we're looking forward to that. Okay. So now I just wanted to quickly go into an update on the long range plan. We also have long range plan and tip happening almost pretty much concurrently here. So many of you attended our long range plan workshop in Armstrong County in May. The primary purpose of that workshop as it pertains to the long range plan was to review the process from the last long range plan update, which was 8 years ago now, and to generate consensus that we were undertaking the right path of action by following a similar course during this long range plan cycle. So this is a rough draft of our anticipated schedule for the next update. This should really start back in May with that kickoff meeting, but this is the follow-up timeline from here on out. So it's really October through to the anticipated adoption of that plan in June 2027. So it seems very far out, but there's a lot that goes into it. So that's why we're presenting it this way, so you can see all the steps along that process. This is a summary of the major events that occurred with the development of Smart Moves. So you can see these, kind of identified again in the timeline that I showed on the last slide. So starting in October, we're planning to work with the SBC Executive Committee to identify locations and dates for these in-person events, being the commissioner workshop, the expert panel workshops, and the regional plan workshop. We'll also work with the task force, which will likely primarily be made up of county planning directors and staffs to finalize those expert panelists. This is just a review of the discussion that we had at that May event for those of you that were not able to be in attendance. We'll discuss this in more depth at our next meeting in October, but I just kind of wanted to present this for anyone that wasn't in attendance so they could be on the same page. Okay. And then last but certainly not least, 2025 SCC competitive program. So this is something that we do with our tip development. This is our competitive program. A couple years ago, we condensed all of our competitive programs into this one application process to make it easier for applicants to receive funding for their projects. Because, you know, I think most of you would agree that you don't really care where the money comes from as long as your project gets funded. So that's what this is. We have our pre-applications in for projects. SCC staff has been assisting those applicants with their pre-applications, getting them in by that deadline. Staff has reviewed pre-applications. They've responded to each applicant with instructions and the required detailed application forms. So we are where the green arrow is. The final application deadline is September 15th. So I know Brian has been hard at work meeting with applicants to answer any and all questions they have. I'm certain that he would be happy to help you if you have anything that you would like to ask him or work through. They're leading this effort, so if you have any questions, you can get in touch with him or I. And I also wanted to flag as part of this that the PennDOT TA program, is it still up? The PennDOT TA program?
The deadline is September 5th for your draft pre-application.
Thank you. So the PennDOT TA program is a separate program. We highly encourage you to apply to both programs if you're interested, because oftentimes we can fill gaps in either pot with one or the other. So that pre-application, as Ryan said, closes September 5th. If you have any questions about that, also welcome to reach out to us and we will assist. So that's all I have. Happy to answer any questions or elaborate further. On that back to you, Sharon. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving along, we're going to move on to agenda item 7, strategic initiatives report. DJ Ryan, Director of Communications and Strategic Initiatives.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hi again, everybody. I'm going to go through this stuff in the interest of time relatively quickly. But if you have questions, please feel free to grab me after. I'm happy to hang out. Just on the communication side, wanted to give you an update that we have recently done a refresh of our external newsletter. Hopefully you all get that. You should, because we added you without asking. But if you don't, you can sign up on sbcregion.org. If you have any great successes in your counties that you want to highlight, let us know. We do get a above average open rate for all that. So I want to thank Melissa and Jeremy and Thompson for their help with that. We also have an online events dashboard. So you can use to our event page. This is specifically this is a calendar now that's going to update in real time and give you a lot more information. So if you have anything going on that you think that the public should know about, that the commission members should know about, please let us know. And that's also not just for commission meetings, but also all the MCTC, TOC, the forums, anything else we're doing. It's all on there. So it's a great place to check. That's all available on the website. We've begun initial meetings for the regional freight plan. You all approved the UPWP amendment for that. And we're getting that process started. A lot more on that soon. On the climate pollution reduction grant side, CPRG, we've been talking about this for a while now, but we are in the process of developing the final comprehensive climate action plan, the document that was put on hold. As part of that, we're doing public meetings in every county. We've had quite a few of those meetings already. We're going to continue those into the fall. And many of you know Mason Security, who is our water resource specialist. Mason has been taking over as the project manager for CPRG. So he's here if you have any questions for him. Public meetings have been going very well. We're very happy with the discussion we've been having. It's much more of a stop-in, open house kind of style instead of a presentation where we're talking to you for a couple hours. We expect the final draft of that plan to go out late fall for public comment. As Lily mentioned, we're doing all the TIP meetings for the 2027 TIP. Thank you, Rhonda, for getting those scheduled. And we do, Lily was right. We have every one of them has a date chosen. So we'll work on locations and times now. But thank you, Commissioners and staff, for your help again to schedule. On the NEVI side, I mentioned that, or Lily mentioned rather, that we're going to do some public engagement to try to get some zip codes for priority charging locations. We are using the public meetings for the climate pollution reduction grant as the initial foray into that process. So we are handing out surveys to all of the attendees at these meetings, asking them just simply what locations around here could use some chargers. We're using that information and getting that back here to go through the data, and it is going to be the main way in which the public gives us feedback. We're also going to do it online. Hopefully we're working an online survey people can submit. The idea is to get as much information as possible there, bring it back to the team, crunch all the numbers, get them into zip code format, and then get that information over to your county planning offices. So I would highly encourage you to talk to your county planning directors and make sure that they know that you're interested in this process, if you are in fact interested in it. And we'll make sure to get all the information to them for them to take a look at and provide us with feedback on whether the zip codes match up with county priorities. And lastly, on broadband, if there's a type here, I'm sorry, because I made this slide like an hour and a half ago. We just got on Friday the announcement that PBDA has given 21 ISPs $800 billion in BEAD funding. This is a preliminary approval. It's not final. It has to go to the federal government to get approved. But the amounts of money and the company info are available on the PBDA website. And we are expecting a map to come out that's going to actually highlight what projects are going where in more detail. Laura from the governor's office was hugely helpful in trying to get all this information for me today so we could make sure to get it all to you. I want to point out that the press release says we'll connect all Pennsylvanians with high-speed internet. So that is the best information I have that everybody's getting covered. I have a copy of the list here. Armstrong's on it, which I know quite a few of you work with them. Certainly Comcast and Verizon. There's also a few satellite providers. SpaceX is on here. Amazon is on here. So this does reflect the changes in the BEAD guidelines that we've talked about. When we get this map, we will send it out to the commission members. We strongly urge counties to utilize the existing public comment process through the PBDA. There is a deadline of this Friday for you to submit public comment on this plan. Of course, I know that you'd like to know what parts of your counties are covered, just whether it really is all of it before you do that. We're working on getting that information to you, and the deadline is this Friday. I will send that link out to all of you as well. And that's it for me. So happy to take questions on.
All right, thank you, DJ. Moving along, agenda item 8, workforce and economic development report. We kick it over to Jen.
I don't know if this microphone works, but even better. That's okay. I'll agree. It's okay. We're ready. I think folks online. Oh, all right. Feels like a talk show. We got it right here. Two microphones. Right. Super reports, Gad. First and foremost, good afternoon and welcome. Just to give you some updates on where we're at from a workforce and economic development perspective. So our business finance team is doing a great job. We just approved 4 loans in the prior executive committee meeting. We have a total of 6 loans already for 25-26 with over $2 million in the pipeline. Under our export program, we have the Bring the World to PA at CMU on September 12th, where it's going to be groups of international businesses working with our partners. Great event, something we do every year with the Office of International Business and the Regional Export Network, along with ourselves, CMU, and Pitt Small Business Development Center. Our Water Resource Center, you have Mason's Credit. want to say hello to everybody. So Mason is taking over for Kathy Tully, who has accepted a position at another location. So Mason is our interim program manager and doing a great job with the Water Resource Center. So working on the Chartiers Creek, Army Corps projects, as well as you heard the update about CPRG. So under our DCD prep and engage side, we are waiting on the state budget to pass, like a lot of you. And so once we have those dollars, we can go out and do the request for proposal for our 25-26 prep and engage programs, which a lot of your counties are partners of. ARC grant season has kicked off, which you're going to hear about on the next slide with Faith Collins. Build Back Better wise, things are still going great. We had a whole dollar reallocation process because we have 13 months left remaining on this grant. So this is a kind of the home stretch. What we're looking to do is those folks that either couldn't spend money or maybe aren't spending quick enough, we're able to reallocate to projects that are in the hopes of training as many individuals as possible. So in addition, just lots of speaking engagements, specifically in the areas of data centers, workforce needs, and rural relationship building. So I'm going to pass this over to Faith Collins to tell you a little bit about ARC grants.
Hi, everyone. So good news for the Appalachian Regional Commission. More funding is opened up. So Power is usually open. Power's for coal impacted communities and creating economic parity in Appalachia with the rest of the United States. So ARC's entire initiative, the whole reason for why it exists is to fund itself out of necessity. So Power's for coal impacted communities in Appalachia. It's open now. LOIs are due, letters of intent, sorry about alphabet soup, are due September 12th at 5 p.m. You should assume that the portal will crash on September 12th, and I would say around 4:30 p.m. So I would work on getting those together now. So this can be anything related to economic development. ARC is pretty open about that, but specifically fostering entrepreneurial activities, developing industry clusters and communities, building a competitive workforce or broadband. I would say Power is especially good for workforce and job training programs, economic development planning, and for broadband initiatives. Start date for this would be 5/1/26 with a period of performance that can go up to 3 years for implementation. Full applications are due October 22nd at 5 p.m. Again, assume that portal will crash on October 22nd. Ahead of the LOI due date, there is some communication that needs to happen between you as the applicant, the state program manager. The most important thing here to take away is if you're interested, you have a potential idea, or you want to talk about funding that could be available. If not ARC, please get in touch with me now rather than later. Thanks.
Question real quick. Faith, prior one of these, there was a multi-state incentive.
Yes, a good question. So not necessarily an incentive for Power. We do anticipate that RISE, which does require a multi-state collaborative component, will be opening very soon. Hint, hint. So if you wanted to, RISE is a much higher request threshold than $2 million. For the last RFP, I believe is up to $10 million for implementation. Again, assuming match. ARC is a pretty high match requirement. For most of Southwestern Pennsylvania, it is half of your total project cost.
And what's really important about ARC funding is that, like I said, this is grant season. Faith's just finished out our area development grant season. We now just, Power is something that's normally released in January, February. So they're a little late to the game this year with all the changes that were happening in Washington, D.C. We don't know if they're going to release and go back on the normal schedule of February again for 26. We don't know. So if you have a project and it's ready to go, Power, now's the time to apply. If you really aren't sure, or maybe it's not super competitive, I would tell you to probably wait a couple months because there will be additional dollars. But those of you that are ready to go right now, your competition is probably going to be a little bit less than it would be if you were applying on the normal timeline. But I will tell you that Faith has been inundated with partners, applications, and processes during this time, which is a testament to our outreach, but also a testament to how many organizations they've made. So keep that in mind. And even if it's not ARC, if you have a nonprofit, a municipality, a county, anything that you are like, hey, could we get funding for XYZ? Let's talk. Let's figure out who can fund you and at least start that process. So getting into kind of where the team has been, what's been going on, the Fancy Food Show was just held at the end of June going into July 1st. We'll see some pictures on the next slide. It's too many words. But this is held in New York City. So SBC's Rita and Jackie, who run our export program, Small Business Development Center, and the SBC Regional Small Businesses selected to attend, an opportunity to connect with buyers on a global scale. So this event is actually sponsored by, in terms of sending our businesses there. It doesn't pay for the travel, but it pays for the entrance fee for our small businesses. So this is sponsored by DCED Prep and our Regional Export Network program. I want to thank you again to DCED, who were able to provide additional dollars for us this year. We were able to pay the entrance fee and booth rental costs for a few extra businesses. And when you think about this, this could really change a business's life in terms of new businesses, new customers, and things we're able to have. So here you have Best Ever Granola from Warrendale, Pennsylvania, Bumblebee Farms, Evan Lee Bakes. His name is Evan, by the way. It's a brilliant name. My Favorite Sweet Shop in Carnegie, Pennsylvania, Uncle Jammy's Sauces and Seasoning, and Two Ugly Mugs in West Mifflin. So here is just what the booth space looks like. You can see all the different businesses. You can see DCED was present as well. This is such a wonderful event, bringing together that public-private partnerships, supporting small businesses, helping Southwestern Pennsylvania grow. Another thing to spotlight is the NACO Rural Leaders for Economic Mobility. When I said that we have been asked to speak at a ton of events recently, this is one of them. This was part of NACO's 90th anniversary event that was held in Philadelphia. It was a pre-session. SBC was asked to serve on a panel that was discussing innovative solutions to rural population loss, working with philanthropy, implementation of data-informed solutions, and really ultimately how to build resilient economies. I had the pleasure of talking to a lot of communities that are affected by population loss, and they're looking at Southwestern Pennsylvania as we do a great job. And I know sometimes we're affected by our own problems and our challenges, but I assure you, we are really seen as a front runner of being innovative in the solutions that we have here. So great event. Next was the Western Pennsylvania Data Center Educational Workshop. This was held August 7th up at IUP. This was a discussion on data centers, the workforce needs and career pathways of data centers. So there were presentations from prior Indiana County Commissioner Robin Gorman, Gwen Ross from the Commonwealth, as well as a panel discussion really about career pathways. What are the type of skills that are going to be needed for the jobs of the future? Amazon was there, and just a really great, robust discussion on how do we prepare our workforce for the future. And then we also just had at the tail end of July, the DDAA conference, which is Development District Association of Appalachia. This is a training conference that they held here. We had visitors from 13 states. ARC's Gail Manchin, Jenna Pasella from Pittsburgh Robotics Network were the keynote speakers. We helped organize tours at Hazelwood Creek and CMU Robotics. So SPC, they reached out to us and said, we're going to be in your backyard. Can you help? And we said, of course. So not only were we able to provide assistance with the planning of this event, we were able to also present at the workshop, again, on the partnerships that we have and the things that we do. What was a really nice piece of feedback is they said this was the highest attendance they've had in recent years. So again, when you have hundreds of people coming into Southwestern Pennsylvania, it's a chance to showcase our great communities. And we had a lot of people who stopped in Fayette County and Greene County on the way up, and were able to see the different places. A lot of people drive, these are rural communities. They're not able to catch a flight in, so they're driving up. And one thing I have to say, a huge thank you to Patrick Joyle with the Pirates. We had the DDAA board, and everybody bought their own Pirate tickets, but we were able to just organize a quick tour of the Pirates Stadium, as well as getting them an on-field experience. So this was very nice for people from all over the 13 states to see something great. And last and certainly not least, I really wanted to spotlight the Fayette Housing Roundtable. This was on August 6th. This was hosted by the Fayette County Economic Development Coalition. It's held at Penn State Fayette campus. There was a data presentation by Patrick Bowen, as well as a panel with builders. This was one of the neatest events I've been in a long time in terms of who all attended. So this was a discussion about housing needs, workforce challenges, what opportunities were there. But what I thought was so amazing and impressive is about, I'd say 40 to 50% of the people in the room were young. which when it comes to a housing and a roundtable discussion, it was really refreshing to see young people in the room wanting to stay in their county, wanting to figure out what are the ways they can solve their community's problems. Mark Brazel did a phenomenal job hosting the panel. I just, Commissioner Basides, just a shout out to you, Commissioner Dunn, as well, just saying what a phenomenal job that event was. I can't thank you enough.
Really focused on that
It
issue.
was so good. I really enjoyed it. And actually, Tiffany, our HR person, was with us as well. She lives in Fayette, so it was a great opportunity for her to see something in the community as well.
Vince and I were part of that 40% young. Yeah, so just
Commissioner Tanner did a great job. I can't thank you enough. But again, seeing young people in the room was just such a delight to see. I even myself and Tiffany, again, our HR director, we were really shocked how many young people were at this event.
They need a place to live.
That's great. It's just great to see. So thank you so much, y'all.
We have we did a housing study. Sure, Scott could say what I'm going to say. We found out that 15,000 people were coming into Fayette County to work every day, but they're leaving at the end of the day. So we can find some, really get focused. It's houses built, single family homes, condos, patio homes. We could probably pick up a lot of populations.
Absolutely. And even thinking, Commissioner McClure, with the Morgantown traffic for great, and I thought what was really helpful was the build. Yeah. They talked about not only, if it was, what are the challenges? Why is it so costly to build? Why won't anybody come down here and look, so it talks about how a significant portion of the workforce is coming from Pittsburgh. So you figure if you have an 8-hour day, they're spending an hour plus just driving to the work site. So just thinking of creative ways in the future that we could not only tackle some workforce challenges, but get houses built quicker.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Jen? Other business, I'm going to open it up to the floor as we always do. Anything for the greater good?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Somebody forgot to mention, we heard last week that on September 23rd and 24th, both the House and Senate Transportation Committees, Democrats and Republicans, will be here. So we're going to get some details later on, but you might want to, as they make the trip, and I see Catherine there, I think you're part of the tour that they're going to be making, seeing the airport and see many other things regarding transportation in our region. I'm going to check with Chuck Colding at BI to get the schedule. I know they would like to interact with us, and we figure out a time and maybe schedule something. Thank you.
All right. Lastly, just a reminder, our next meeting will be October 27th. That is staff costume night, since it's so close to Halloween. So we will, the commission will have a vote on best staffers. So we appreciate your participation. So looking really forward to that. So first annual, by the way. We are. There's nothing else. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Tony.
I'll second.
Second. And we are adjourned.